because no one has ever bypassed this period of time. Every one of us have been conceived, lived in a womb, were birthed, and went through development. Nobody gets to bypass this. The first 5 years of life are absolutely imperative when it comes to how that nervous system is going to function later on. So that's the journey that I want to take you through. I want to talk to you about some very delicate windows of time. There are sensitive windows of time that influence how that nervous system is actually going to turn out. I'm not going to go through every single week of embryology, but I do want to highlight some periods of time with you. The 8th week of gestation is when the vestibular apparatus comes on board. Now let me tell you about the vestibular apparatus. You may just know of it as motion from the outside, but it isn't just motion from the outside. Anything that has to do with motion is being driven by the vestibular apparatus, externally and internally as well. You have 3 semicircular canals, and we will look at those semicircular canals in a little bit more detail later on. They have an anterior, a posterior, and a horizontal canal, and they detect motion. But at 8 weeks, that embryo is not really going through external motion out here. It's moving, but not kind of the motion that you think of. Motion is also about what goes on inside of you. You have a very distinct way that blood travels through your body, going out to the lower extremity, coming back up, going into the heart in a very particular way. You have a very distinct way that you eliminate, that you digest food. We have a very specific way that an egg travels down the fallopian tube and the sperm comes up and the two meet. Motion is everywhere. Motion is internal and external. Even your emotions are motions. You feel up, you feel down, you feel neutral. And when you start to think of the magnitude, the power behind this apparatus, this is the most important structure. It's also the safest place to play with neurology, so that when we leave each other, you will have an appreciation of the first system that comes on board neurologically, and you can begin to work with patients in a safe frame. Because too often we go to seminars, we pick up little pieces of information, we go back and apply it, and it may not be in the right time frame. Especially in neurology, you must always go back to where this person left off. That is the safest way to bring them forward. And the vestibular apparatus is that type of system. 9th week gestation is the activation of the primitive reflexes. And this is the part that I really want to highlight with you this evening. Do you remember the primitive reflexes from your education? Moro, spinal gallant, asymmetrical tonic neck reflexes. We should own these reflexes. As a chiropractor, we need to understand what they're doing, when they come on in the development of this fetus, and what they do, and when are they supposed to quiet down or inhibit. So they have a neurological function. They facilitate, and then after birth, they're going to inhibit. They are perfectly normal. And as you age, they quiet down, but they're there for you. They don't go away forever. If you have a heart attack, if you have a stroke, if you have a head injury, if you have an emotional trauma, if you have a mechanical trauma, enough to change the threshold in the neurology, you go back to these reflexes. This is how you relearn. This is your rudimentary place of all training. So they're always with you, and they're all mediated by the brainstem.